Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most talked about stories in global news, the Crimea Bridge incident. Once again, the bridge that connects Russia to the occupied Crimean Peninsula has been struck, and this time it's causing chaos, confusion, and serious political shockwaves throughout Moscow. The Crimea Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, has become both a symbol and a strategic lifeline for Russia. And every time it's hit, it sends a powerful message. Russia faces the impossible task of keeping its grip on Crimea under constant Ukrainian pressure. The latest strike on the bridge has reignited global discussions about Russia's vulnerability and the growing capabilities of Ukraine's military. Despite Russia's heavy defenses, surveillance systems, and constant patrols, Ukraine has managed once again to pull off a daring operation. It raises a simple but crucial question: how can such a heavily guarded structure, one that Putin himself considers a national pride project, be struck repeatedly without warning? The answer reveals deeper problems within Russia's military command, intelligence coordination, and the overall strategy of the war. The Crimea Bridge has always been more than just a piece of infrastructure. It's a political statement, a logistical artery, and a psychological anchor for Russia's occupation of Crimea. Destroying or damaging it doesn't just slow down supplies, it hits the very image of Russian strength. Every explosion on the bridge echoes across Russia, not just as a physical loss, but as a symbolic reminder that Ukraine is far from giving up. For Ukraine, striking the bridge is not just about tactics. It's about sending a message of defiance, that no matter how much Russia fortifies its positions, there are still cracks in its armor. This latest attack is reported to have been executed using advanced maritime drones or long-range precision missiles, although both sides have released conflicting statements. Russia insists it intercepted several incoming attacks, while Ukraine remains intentionally quiet, maintaining its usual strategic silence. However, satellite images and video footage circulating online paint a different story. Parts of the bridge show visible damage, smoke, and a temporary halt in traffic. This disruption means Russia's critical supply routes from mainland Russia into southern Ukraine are again at risk. Russia's Ministry of Defense has tried to downplay the incident, claiming the bridge remains structurally stable, but independent analysts disagree. They point out that repeated strikes, even if partially successful, can weaken the bridge's long-term durability. The logistical strain this causes on Russia's war operations is immense. The bridge supports the transport of ammunition, fuel, and reinforcements, essentials for maintaining control over the occupied territories. Each attack forces Russia to reroute supplies through more dangerous and longer routes, draining resources and slowing momentum. Politically, this event places immense pressure on the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin has long portrayed the Crimea Bridge as an unshakable link between Russia and Crimea, a symbol of reunification and strength. Each successful Ukrainian strike turns that narrative on its head. It exposes Russia's inability to protect even its most treasured assets. For the Russian people, it brings unease, and for the international community, it's a reminder that Russia's military is not as invincible as it once claimed. The psychological blow is as significant as the physical one. Ukraine, on the other hand, sees this as a strategic victory. Even if the bridge isn't completely destroyed, simply disabling it for days or weeks disrupts Russian logistics and morale. The operation demonstrates Ukraine's growing confidence and technological sophistication. It also shows their ability to strike deep into what Russia considers its secure territory. For Ukraine's allies, especially in the West, this serves as proof that continued support and advanced weaponry are making a difference on the battlefield. But the bigger question remains: how sustainable is Russia's position in Crimea if its main supply route keeps getting attacked? The bridge's repeated vulnerability shows that maintaining control over Crimea is becoming increasingly expensive and dangerous. Military experts have warned that if Russia cannot secure consistent supply lines, its forces in the south could become isolated. This could shift the balance of the war dramatically, forcing Russia into defensive positions while Ukraine continues to apply pressure. The attack also highlights the evolution of modern warfare. Traditional defenses such as anti-air systems and naval patrols are proving ineffective against modern drone technology. Ukraine's use of unmanned systems, fast, small, and difficult to detect, is changing the game. These strikes are not just about destruction, they are about demonstrating that asymmetric warfare can challenge even a superpower's resources. Russia's massive military machine struggles to adapt, to these nimble, innovative tactics. For Russia, every hit on the Crimea Bridge represents a deeper humiliation. This bridge was personally inaugurated by Putin in 2018. He famously drove a truck across it, symbolizing what he called the return of Crimea to the motherland. Now, every time it's hit, that symbolism shatters a little more. It erodes the perception of Russian dominance, both at home and abroad. Critics inside Russia are quietly questioning how such repeated failures are possible under constant military watch. The Russian response to these attacks has become increasingly defensive and aggressive. Moscow continues to retaliate with large-scale missile strikes against Ukrainian cities targeting infrastructure and civilians. But these actions do little to change the reality on the ground. Ukraine's resilience remains strong, and its ability to hit back where it hurts most shows that Russia's strategy of intimidation is failing. Every retaliation only fuels Ukraine's determination and global sympathy for its cause. Meanwhile, international reactions have been swift. Western countries have praised Ukraine's ingenuity and bravery, though many stop short of directly commenting on the operation. NATO officials have reiterated their support for Ukraine's right to defend itself and strike legitimate military targets. Analysts in Europe suggest that if these attacks continue, Russia might have to divert significant resources to protect the bridge, resources that could otherwise be used at the front lines. This situation leaves Russia facing the impossible. Defending the bridge requires enormous manpower, constant surveillance, and heavy weapon systems. Yet none of that guarantees safety. The bridge stretches for kilometers over open water, making it nearly impossible to guard completely. Any single gap in detection can result in another devastating hit. And with Ukraine's tactics becoming increasingly precise, that risk only grows. Beyond the battlefield, this also has major geopolitical implications. The Crimea Bridge symbolizes Russia's claim over Crimea. Its destruction or repeated damage undermines that claim and strengthens Ukraine's argument that Crimea remains unlawfully occupied territory. Each strike brings the world's attention back to that central issue, that Crimea was taken in violation of international law and that the struggle for its liberation continues. Economically, the repeated attacks are costing Russia billions. Repairing the bridge, rerouting supplies, and maintaining military convoys drain valuable resources. These costs come at a time when sanctions and war expenses are already crippling the Russian economy. The Kremlin is facing both military and financial exhaustion, while Ukraine continues to receive aid and weapons from its allies. Public perception in Russia is also shifting subtly. While state media tries to downplay the attacks, ordinary citizens see the damage online. Social media videos, satellite images, and independent reports reveal the truth that official propaganda cannot hide. The sense of insecurity grows. If even the Crimean Bridge is not safe, what else might be vulnerable? This slowly chips away at Putin's image of total control. In Ukraine, the mood is one of cautious optimism. Every successful strike boosts morale and unity. It reinforces the belief that liberation of occupied territories, including Crimea, is achievable. Ukrainian leaders have repeatedly stated that Crimea is not off-limits, and this operation proves their words are more than just rhetoric. It's a psychological turning point that shows Ukraine's fight is not only defensive, but also strategic and forward-looking. The repeated strikes on the Crimea Bridge are reshaping the war's dynamics. Russia's military pride is under constant test, and Ukraine's creative warfare is rewriting modern strategy. For the Kremlin, it's a nightmare scenario, an expensive symbolic target that keeps getting hit, and a world watching every failure. For Ukraine, it's proof that persistence, intelligence, and technology can overcome even the largest military forces. In the end, the Crimea Bridge has become a metaphor for the entire war. It stands tall but fragile, a structure meant to symbolize unity, now serving as a reminder of division. Each explosion is more than a strike on steel and concrete. It's a strike on Russia's confidence, its image, and its future in Crimea. The impossible task for Moscow is not just defending a bridge, but defending a dream that's beginning to crumble under the weight of reality. And as the world watches, one thing becomes clear. The bridge may be rebuilt again and again, but every attack chips away at the myth of Russian invincibility. Ukraine's message is loud and clear. As long as occupation continues, the Crimea Bridge will never be truly safe. This story is far from over, and the next chapter may be even more dramatic. Stay tuned, because what happens next on the Crimea Bridge could decide the future of the entire conflict. Would you like me to also generate titles, description, hashtags, keywords, tags, and image prompts with final thumbnail prompt for this same video next.